Welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner podcast. My name is Coach Scott. I'll be your host today. Guys, I got a special treat for you today. Not one, but two podcast guests. Going to bring them on in just a moment. And I got to tell you, normally I pre-record these intros, and so I never really know what's going to be said on the podcast. Today, I'm doing the intro after the podcast, so I do know what's going to be said. And I have to tell you, this is one of the more inspirational stories we've done on the Ordinary Marathoner podcast. It's one of the more touching stories for sure. It's a couple of brothers. Again, going to bring them on in just a minute, but this is definitely worth your while. I'm telling you, and I don't say that lightly either. I think I was probably, I was definitely moved. I don't know if I got choked up at any point, if it's audible. I don't know if you'll pick it up on the video either, but man, it was a great story, and I can't wait for you guys to hear it. Can't wait to tell it. It's already been told, but can't wait for you guys to listen to it anyway. Again, we're going to bring those guys on in just a minute. As always, you can find this in the back episodes of our podcast at our website, ordinarymarathoner.com. You can also find them at the aggregators, places like Stitcher, TuneIn, iTunes, Google Podcasts, our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel is doing great. Love to have you over there as a subscriber. Hit that subscribe button. Never miss a new episode that way. Got a lot going on over here with the Ordinary Marathon. It is less than 3 months away, guys. So if you haven't registered, go on over to our webpage, ordinarymarathon.com. Get involved. It's for a great cause, the SAM Fund. Again, they give out grants to people who are struggling financially due to cancer. It is an amazing charity. They do wonderful work, and we love supporting them year in and year out. We are recruiting new sponsors for the race. So if you run a business, or if you just want to sponsor and give a little extra, or if you know people who run a business, especially if they're in the health industry or the fitness industry, we'd love to bring them aboard and join us if they want to give away, get involved with our giveaways. We do daily raffle giveaways. We got a lot of stuff that we're already giving away. But we, sure could use some extra stuff. That would be great. Again, a lot of donations. We do have some sponsors on board already, and this should be, I think that this is a sign. It's a sign that we're doing things right, is that we get our sponsors back year after year. People like Greasy Girl Headbands. People like Queen Bean Coffee, Ascension Multisport. We've got 4Run3 on board this year doing our 5K. Our live 5K is in East Longmeadow, Massachusetts. So if you're in the area, or if you're going to be in the area, we'd love to have you join us. That's going to be on May 9th. If you're not in the area and you want to play virtually, that's cool too. We got a 10-day virtual race. That is our bread and butter. It always has been. So you don't necessarily need to participate in the live 5K. In order to participate in the race, again, I urge you to go to ordinarymarathon.com and check out the videos of prior races and races from the prior years. And, look, we do a video every year. So if you get involved, if you tag your pictures with the hashtag Ordinary Marathon, we'll see them. Well, a good chance you're going to be in this year's video. And who knows, you might be famous. Who knows? We've made people famous before. That's not true. Anyway, but it's fun. I'll tell you what, it is fun, and it's for a great cause. So again, if you want to be a sponsor, again, I'll do the list real quickly. We got Greasy Girl Headbands, Queen Bean Coffee, Ascension Multisport, Run Heifer Run, and Grandma Junie is back donating water bottles, coffee thermoses, that kind of stuff with our race logo. She does a great job for us, June Walker. Grandma Junie has a potty mouth. That's the name. Hey, I didn't pick the name. She's a sponsor. That's what it is. She definitely does have a potty mouth too. So it's legit. With that, let's bring in our guest for today. I know I've been holding out on you guys here. Here's what I'm going to say before we bring on the guests. Kyle Pease, one of our two guests, suffers from cerebral palsy. It does something to his voice. Sometimes it's hard to understand what he says. Look, I just wanted to put that out there for you guys. I think I was able to kind of hear him and understand what he had to say. I am not tinkering with any of the audio. I think he did a great job. And I make no apologies for him because I don't think he would want me to. And when you listen to his story and you hear how tough he is and the things that he does, in a wheelchair, mind you, he does more things in a wheelchair than most people do with the ability to walk. So, again, I make no apologies for Kyle. I just wanted to give you the heads up as we head into the podcast. Let me introduce today's guests. There are two of them today. Got them both. Somehow we were able to kind of get them both involved in the podcast today. We got them both on the line. They've written a book. It's called Beyond the Finish. A Story of Passion, Brotherhood, and Relentless Determination. Their story is incredible. I can't wait to hear it. Kyle and Brent Pease, welcome to the show, guys.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, it's awesome. Awesome you guys can make it. I'm glad I got both of you here. I know you're in two different locations, but we got it done and we're all here. So listen, I want to congratulate you both on the book. I think it's incredible, not only to the story behind the book, but then to actually sit there and to write it all out and share that experience. I think it's amazing. I think that's a tremendous accomplishment. So congratulations to you both for not only all of your accomplishments, which I can't wait to hear about, but for also getting this book out. And I can't wait to hear, I think having just heard sort of the background and reading sort of this, the summary of the book, I kind of know the story, but I'd really love to hear you guys tell it. So why don't I give it to you guys and let us know what's the book about? What's a little bit of background around Kyle and Brent Pease?
So the book really covers our whole life, and the last part of the book really talked about our journey as athletes, going through the hardest one day endurance race of our career so far. We call the Ironman Hawaii. So growing up, I have cerebral palsy, and I have a twin brother, Evan. And I think one thing that's really cool about the book is that everybody in our family has a chapter, so you get to hear everybody's perspective and their voices. So growing up, my mom and dad really didn't know for an answer, and that was kind of ingrained in my philosophy of life. And we always grew up with sports as the epicenter of what we do and what we love. We're diehard Braves fans. I'm a big diehard Falcons fan. So I watch 70 games a year and 162 games in baseball every year. I don't miss it. It was now the new technology. You can stream a game on your cell phone. So I might be in the middle of a meeting and watching the Braves game. I'm notorious for doing that. But the book just gives you a behind the scenes look at how it was growing up and really how we found what we love and what we're passionate in doing sports.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. And I've like I said, I've read some of the summaries of your book, and I've seen some of the videos of you guys on YouTube in my preparation for the interview. But for the audience who's just listening on the podcast, Kyle is in a wheelchair, and Brent and Kyle together as a team have in sort of this Team Hoyt fashion. I don't know if you guys are you guys involved with Team Hoyt?
We have our own foundation in Atlanta. Certainly, obviously very similar, and we've been in contact with them for years. In fact, we're actually going to be part of Team Hoyt for the Boston Marathon coming up this April.
Wow, we will be there watching. Yeah, that is awesome. I can't. Maybe we'll get a chance to meet you guys there. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So you guys work as a team, and Brent, you sort of either, I guess I would say, push the wheelchair or have Kyle mounted on the front of your bike. And how do you do it for the water?
So we use an inflatable kayak from Advanced Elements, and then I tie a rope to my waist and start swimming and hope that I hang on to the boat.
And I mean, this it sounds to me like, I mean, this is, I know how much training goes into becoming an Ironman and finishing an Ironman race, and then I think about being able to do it within the time frames, and then to do it, while pulling a kayak or a boat, and while being on the bike, and while pushing someone in the run. I can't even imagine. I mean, I barely finish without any of that stuff. How do you guys do it?
Sheer luck and determination. No, I mean, I think certainly, especially, in this format podcast, it's sometimes hard to see what a determined individual and what an athlete Kyle looks like. When you see pictures of the Hoyts from the 80s, when they're, you look at Rick and he strikes you as an athlete. He's got this chiseled face and he's got these defined features like an athlete. And when you look at Kyle pictures from Kona, his face is gaunt and he's got his big Oakleys on and he's got his, Lycra, and he just looks like an athlete, but he acts like one too. And I think that is a big part of, how we're successful in this, is the way that Kyle pushes his mind and body, which in turn allows me to do the same. So there's certainly, more physical demands on my body, but Kyle sits in a wheelchair all day. Ask anybody that sits in front of a computer all day to turn around the next day and do an Ironman. That's a huge ask of them. And Kyle has been able to do that 4 times over.
Sure. And, just in the beginning, Kyle, when you were talking about how much you guys love sports and how you grew up with sports, and how you don't miss a Braves game. By the way, I'm a Mets fan, so we wouldn't really get along that well, but, sorry
to hear that.
Me too, actually. I'm sorry to say that. Anyway, just hearing you, there's something about sports and sports in general. We talk about it a lot on the podcast, and especially, you wouldn't think also with a sport like running, because it seems so individualistic, but something about sports in general, sort of brings people together and kind of gives you sort of you guys, I think as a team have a common goal, but it's also, it's something it brings around. Sometimes it can bring about sort of like a better sense of self or something like a sense of accomplishment. And it sounds like you guys have been doing things like this ever since you were little kids. So going back to that sort of aspect, how involved, and obviously you see it with you guys, in being involved in Ironman races together, but how involved were you guys together in sports sort of growing up?
Yeah, it was always a part of growing up. I think that, cause I need help with everything. So our mom created a baseball league, for people with disabilities. And we had to have buddies because I can't swing a bat on my own. So the buddies were a staking of us. So Brett was, mom never paired us together on the field, but we were always find a way to swing the bat together or be on the same playing field. So it was always a team effort.
So let's be honest here, Kyle. If you guys as a team struck out, you would just blame Brent, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of growing up. There was a lot of heated debates, and a lot of people would end up crying. I was always the umpire, actually, and growing up, I wanted to be the first major league umpire in a wheelchair, but that didn't work out too well for me, because I could never master the strike zone, and both my brothers would get very upset with me, and then we would start arguing, and then Brett would take up for me, and then everyone would swing back at Brett. So it was a no-win situation for me being an umpire.
But it sounds, well, actually, I tell you, man, don't lose that dream, because these days, with, replay officials in the NFL, and now you're hearing about potential Major League Baseball going to like an automatic strike zone. Maybe they need guys in the booth, and maybe you can sort of rekindle that dream.
Sure.
Well, now he's an endurance. He's an endurance athlete now. He doesn't need the umpire dream.
That's good. Yeah. No, you know what? No one looks good in stripes. Well, baseball's different, I guess, but football, at least you have the stripes. No one looks good in vertical stripes anyway. So you guys grow up and you guys kind of stick together, and at least it sounds that way. And you're a team. You guys are a team. You're a family. You're a team. Now, I should have looked into this a little bit more, but I didn't because that's sometimes what I do. But Brent, did you actually finish an Ironman solo before you were with Kyle, before you started doing it as a team?
I did. And pre-kids, I used to pepper in a few solo races a year just for good measure, just to figure out if any of the fitness I'd built up training with Kyle was going to be worth anything on the course. So that was really what kind of kicked it all off for us was, me getting into the sport, and then Kyle coming along to watch that first Ironman just really became the catalyst.
Where did you do that one?
Louisville,
okay.
Back in 2010, back when that was the August edition of the Ironman,
right.
Which we still miss, but we were up there and we had a huge crew. And in fact, there was one of my good friends and training buddies, Betty, who's a former Division I swimmer and a pretty good triathlete in her own right, was with Kyle most of the day. And she was really kind of egging him on because he was asking questions and you could almost tell where he was going with it, which was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And she just kept pushing and poking. And, by the end of the night, Kyle was asking, can I do this? Can people in wheelchairs do this? Is the famous question that he asked. And I said yes. And, Betty was chirping right in his ear. And she's been with us. I'll have to send you, maybe you can include in the show notes. There's a great video. We took Kyle up to the North Georgia mountains when we were training for the Ironman World Championships. And of course, Betty, who's been with us through this whole journey, she came with us. And you can just hear her screaming in the background. And this is a training ride. This isn't even race day.
Yeah.
And she is just going berserk for us. It was the first time we ever took Kyle up to the mountains. It's up near the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains.
Right.
So beautiful, scenic, but certainly no short of challenges. But yeah, so sorry, back to the original statement. Yeah, I mean, I started this as a solo athlete. And I would tell you now, I don't know that I have a desire today to do another one solo for a little while. I just enjoy too much what I get to share with Kyle. We get to, as Kyle put it, we get to swing the back together now.
I think that's a great analogy, which actually kind of leads well into the next question, which is, like I said, I knowing how hard these races are, and the thought of pulling, a raft followed by being on the bike to me and carrying another person, it just seems like such a difficult thing to do. But when you guys are out there, I mean, let me ask you this, Brent, having done it alone and now having done it with Kyle, how much would you say that he net adds to the experience is when you feel like, I don't know, say you have a hill and you're on the bike and you feel like quitting, or you feel like, do you look to your brother? Is there things are you guys able to converse or talk? Are there things that go on between you guys that sort of like that 1 + 1 = 3 kind of thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I would tell you that I think Kyle and I feel like we have a competitive advantage over some of the other people, even though we may not be as fast as them, because we can have that dialogue. When you're out there by yourself and you're struggling, there's a lot of times, especially in Ironman, if you do a major, US road race or even a small triathlon, you can go anywhere on the course and see people. And in Ironman, you can be by yourself for miles, literally and figuratively. And so a lot of times when we find ourselves in those situations, and it's usually me, just the way both our personalities are, who Kyle is as an athlete, it's usually me that struggles first. And I have this guy sitting right next to me or right in front of me who knows me better than anyone, or as good as anyone. And he knows exactly which buttons to push, sometimes bad, but usually good. But he knows how to get me to respond. He knows when he needs to yell. He knows when he just needs to talk to me, or when he needs to plead. And, we have these real conversations with each other. And that kind of helps push through the mental stuff. And there's some things that I think, now that I've been doing this since 2011 with Kyle, there are some things that we do that I even take for granted, or I've forgotten that it's skills that we've built up. But, we've learned how to suffer together as athletes, and how to push ourselves mentally and physically to what some people might perceive as the edge, or some people might say is just unbelievable or too much.
I think that's a great thing. I wouldn't call it so much of a suffering. Yes, you are going to go through stages while you're on the course that are not going to be great. We all go through them, but I can think it's a joy to be out there with Brent, and the suffering makes it sweeter that we get to do this together. And so, yes, not taking away from what Brent has said, because that is very important, but it's also important to realize that suffering makes it more joyful, that we get to suffer together, but at the same time, we get to have this fun, and we get to see the joy in each other, and we get to push one another, and it gets awesome to be out there with him.
So, Kyle, what is the worst thing you've ever said to your brother when you guys have been out there and you kind of feel like he's got more to give and he's not going as fast as you? Do you have an explicit
rating on this podcast?
I don't, but I have a feeling I'm going to need one.
No, we won't go there. I will tell you this, and I'll let Kyle answer, and he'll do it in a nice political way. But when we were out on the Queen K and the Ironman World Championships, it was a lonely point for both of us. And our coach happened to be out there, and he saw us before we saw him. And he said he's still haunted by the things Kyle was saying to me out
there. I believe it, bro. I have a brother too, and and it's given the same situation. I can't imagine the things he might say.
Yeah, like I said, he knows how to push my buttons, and sometimes it's not always. But
brothers,
sometimes
you guys are brothers.
But it's usually what I need to hear, even if in the moment I might get a little frustrated. In fact, we were racing Sunday, and we struggled for a variety of reasons, but at mile 9, we were still kind of in the mix of where we wanted to be. And Kyle, and I've got a picture of it. I mean, he's arched back and he is screaming at me.
Nice.
And I remember seeing the picture and being like, man, in the moment I was just so irritated with him. I just wanted to reach down and tell him to shut up, But then when I look back, like our best 3 miles of the day were started at mile 9. When Kyle just decided, like, this is it. Like, this guy's either going to run hard or he's not. And if he's going to run hard, I'm damn sure I'm going to make sure he does. And he, he got after me, and that's what happens. Like, so there have been times out there where he gets nasty, and there's been just as many times where, I mean, one of the famous stories we tell all the time was we did Ironman Florida back in 2014, and it was 39, 40 degrees. The wind was gusting up to 35 miles per hour, and it was just a brutal day. And in fact, it's the flattest bike course we've ever done, and it's the slowest bike split we've ever had in an Ironman, because it was just so brutal what we were facing. And at mile 60, I went to the bathroom in the woods, and I remember not wanting to come out and just sitting there and being like, I'm going to lay down right here, and this is where they're going to find us. Somebody will realize there's this, young man with a disability out on the side of the road, and there's a empty seat on the bike, and he'll tell him it's my brother, and he went in there about an hour ago. but what happened next is I came out, instead of him screaming at me or yelling at me or giving me a hard time, he just said, hey, can you just get us to mile 61? And for 52 miles, he counted the miles for us. That's all he had to do that day, instead of screaming at me. But he knew I was so deflated. And how many of us have been in the races like that, whatever it is, 5K, marathon, where you're just looking for anything. And all I needed that day was simple math, just somebody to count the small little chunks for me.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. And the other thing I wanted to mention too was, Brent, I know I kind of like started grilling you a little bit on, not grilling, but asking you about how difficult the day is for you. And obviously being the one pushing and pulling and doing all that stuff, you always feel like in this kind of situation that like you're doing all the work, but you were quick to point out that Kyle does the work too. And Kyle, so it's a long day out there, and I don't know what kind of time you guys do and how long it takes you guys to actually finish and cross that finish line. But for me, it's typically closer to 17 hours. So for you, Kyle, at what kind of mental challenges are you going through throughout the day? Because I think that's something that's probably overlooked a lot, and it was something that I definitely noticed that your brother was quick to point out was that, hey, you're there too. This is a team thing. So does it get like that for you? Do you get some of the same feelings of exhaustion and, that, you know what I mean? Like that kind of endurance athlete stuff that kicks in. And I mean, do you feel the same way at times?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of times I feel like, what else do I have to prove type of thing? Because I've been proving people wrong my whole life. Like, nobody told me that I was going to graduate high school. Nobody told me that I was going to go to college. Nobody told me that I was going to have a full-time job and manage all my caregivers. And so when I'm out there, I get tired. Like, if you see some of the pictures, I mean, like Brent said, it's all over my face. And I have a power wheelchair at home, and I'm pretty independent, so I can get my way around the city and all that. The wheelchair is very contoured to my disability and to my spasms, but the bike is a kayak. It's a race wheelchair that we use. It's not. It's uncomfortable, and it gets tiresome, and I get cramps, and I get, I feel like I got ran over by an 18-wheeler. But that's why I love the sport. It's because it tests your mental ability, and it tests your stamina of how bad do you want it. And so I do get moments all the time that I feel like I can't go anymore. But I have to be there for Brett, and I have to be there, for the team, and to show people what is possible.
And on that note, while you mentioned that, which I was going to ask you a little bit later, but to what extent do you guys try, and maybe this is part of your foundation, but again, I have that question for a little bit later, but to what extent do you guys try to motivate people that are in a similar position to Kyle, and that are, people who never thought, like, this is something that I could do, or this is something that, this is a possibility for me, to team up with someone and get out there and get something like this done. Is that ever come into mind too? I mean, sounds like you guys are like just a tight brotherhood and you do it for each other, but has it become anything bigger than that in terms of like trying to reach out and broaden the ability for people who are in a similar situation as Kyle is in to participate in these kinds of events?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we've got so we have the Kyle Pease Foundation. So that, we've got a ton of people that come through it that are certainly have been inspired by, whether it's me and Kyle or just somebody else that they've seen, but there's also people all over the country doing this. This isn't like when the Hoyts first started doing it, where they were it and they were the only ones doing it. Or at least for a few years there. So there's certainly people that we've heard from over the years that have said, we just saw your story. This is amazing. How do we do it? I want to do this with my friend, my daughter, my son, but there's just as many people we've met too that inspire us. Some of the athletes we race with, Kyle and I were just with a young woman, Jessica, this weekend, who cancer survivor, single leg amputee, stroke, had multiple strokes, and yet she's out there still doing this stuff, and she needs a little help. But so there's just as many times where we get, and it's just like everybody else. I mean, when we first started, I remember doing long course triathlons. We'd go to these races and we'd be the only one there like that. Sure. And so people would bike by us, and inevitably they'd scream out something like, "Hey, you're amazing," or "You inspire us." And Kyle would always shout back, "You inspire me." And it goes back to you asking about, if I did this solo. I mean, when Kyle came and watched that first Ironman, it wasn't just what I was doing that was inspiring Kyle. It was the 2,500 other people that were there that day, because he's watching all sorts of different people, from the elite, athletic pro that was doing it in 8 hours to the everyday, hero doing it in 16:59, and that's what spoke to him. And that's what speaks to both of us.
Yeah, it's an incredible event. Did you guys get the tattoo?
No tattoos for us.
Come on, I just got my tattoo. That's why I'm asking.
I know, it's hard, right? Like it's Mickey Mouse. They've got this amazing, and look, they have an amazing brand. That's why,
Yeah.
I remember when I was looking at it and I was looking at the expense of doing an Ironman, and somebody was like, I said, well, maybe I'll just do one of these off brand or something. And they said, look, do Ironman. Okay. You don't go to some other park. You go to Disney, go get your money's worth,
That's true.
So
you mentioned
we have not dipped our toes in the tattoo game.
That's all right. It's coming. You guys got to do it anyway. So you mentioned, you did, all right, let me see if I'm drinking coffee, so it should be there. If you guys you did Louisville first, you've done Florida, you've done Hawaii. Is there one, what else, what other one you did? And I know I saw that you guys ran the New York City Marathon together too. Mm-hmm. Give me the list. What else did I miss there that you guys have done?
We've done 2 other Ironmans. It could just get to what you just said. We done Boulder in 2017.
Yep.
We done Ironman Wisconsin in 2013. That was our very first one that we ever did.
You guys did see, like I hear some of these other ones and I'm like, all right, flat courses, that makes sense. You guys did Lake Placid?
No, Wisconsin.
Oh, Wisconsin.
Which isn't as hilly as Lake Placid.
No, but it's hills in Wisconsin too. But I thought he said Lake Placid. Yeah.
No, we like checking boxes as much as we like adventures. We just qualified for Boston, so we're doing Boston for the first time in April, like we mentioned.
Yeah.
We've done multiple Ironmans and half Ironmans and just about any local 5K we can get our hands on. And when we first started this, I think our original marketing plan of getting the message out was to just do one race a month. I mean, for a couple of years there, we were doing 20 or 30 races in a year.
Wow.
It was crazy how much we were doing. But we've lost track. I mean, I think we've done more than 125 races at this point. But I'll tell you, favorite triathlon, Hawaii all the way.
Yeah.
And favorite marathon so far is New York.
Yeah.
Cause it's just, there's no better way to see a city than to walk it or to run it at a, slightly elevated heart rate.
It's, New York. Yeah. New York for me, it was my first marathon. I've done it 3 times now, but it's, it's something special. It's just something about, with the exception of that one bridge, the Queensboro Bridge, it's like just massive amounts of people cheering you on for 26.2 miles. And there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. I don't know. It sounds like you guys if you said it was the best race you did, it was probably similar for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, every race is special, but, some take the cake over others for sure. Yeah.
And Boston's going to be nice for you guys too. And again, we're going to be out there. So it'd be cool to see you guys and, say hi and wave you on, cheer you on as you pass by. We have, a lot of our, a lot of our crew is going to be out there. So, it's going to be a long day for us. I'm worried about me being outside, just standing still, watching you guys, but you guys are going to be out there doing all the work.
Dude, it's way hard. It's way harder spectating than it is doing a race.
Sometimes I think you're right.
No, I mean, look, we're the heroes, right? If you're racing or if I'm racing or Kyle, like that's the people you're there to see. But it's hard work being out there. You're stressed. You want to see them. You're running around. Of course, my wife's got it down. She gets a bloody at 9, and then she gets her margarita at 11.
That's great. I tell you,
you gotta be stressed somewhere.
That support system is A, it's really important, and B, once they get that down, and they know where to go, and they, especially if you're doing the same race a couple times in a row, and they get the lay of the land down, it's it can be a lot of fun. I'm going up to Lake Placid this year just to watch because I've done Lake Placid. I've participated in it 3 times, finished twice. But I'm looking forward to just kind of relaxing and enjoying the scenery and seeing what my wife goes through when I'm up there racing it. But it's being a spectator is just, it's hard work too. But it's great to have the support system there. And I'm sure you guys appreciate that as well.
Oh, absolutely. they always say that it takes the village, and it truly does. We cannot do it without our support system, without Brett's wife, without our parents, my caretakers, all of our friends of the foundation. I think, well, I don't think, I know that in Hawaii we had over 70 people supporting us that flew all the way from Atlanta to Kona to be a part of our very sacred day.
That's incredible, guys. The other thing that's incredible is you guys wrote a book. How did that idea come about, and how long did it take you to do that?
Kyle wrote a kid's book in 2014 or 15, 14. And when we did that, we kind of said, we wanted to come back and write a big boy book, as we called it. And we had somebody help us put the book together, Todd Sivan, who actually helped write one of the Hoyt's books, and he's written several children's books. And kind of talking to him about this idea and learning what the writing process was like, we decided to just get started. So we actually started writing the book in 2016. So it took us almost 2 years to put it together. It's not easy when, like Kyle said, everybody from the family's got a hand in the book. So coordinating all of that, organizing all that information, and which is where Todd was fantastic. And helping us navigate that. But, that just kind of became it. We enjoyed being able to have that platform and share that, and maybe give somebody else a little bit of hope, whether they've got a child with special needs or whether they've just looking for that little bit of extra motivation in their life.
Yeah. And on that note, I mean, so you guys started the foundation, the Kyle Pease Foundation. How long has that been around? And, why don't you give us a little bit of the, I know we kind of touched on it already, but sort of what your goals are with the foundation and the things that you do there.
So the Kyle Pease Foundation was started in 2011, and it gets to improve the lives of disabled individuals through sports, in particular endurance sports, so anywhere from 5K all the way to an Ironman. And the goal is to just give people hope, and to show them what is possible at a race. And it gets amazing to see the individual that we serve, just how they have grown from the races, and how they want more things out of their life than just racing. They want a job. They want to be active in their community and be social, and it's just amazing to see how the races have been such a positive impact on their lives and their families' lives as well.
That sounds like a theme that sort of runs through your family right there, just giving each other hope and making you guys, watching you guys do things that you probably never thought you could do before. You guys are inspirational for sure. And I want to thank you both for coming on the show. Where can we, for my listeners, if they, I'm assuming if they want to buy the book, and I'll certainly throw some links on there, but they can probably just go to Amazon or maybe their local bookstores. But if they wanted to get involved in the foundation, or where's the best way to find you guys? Is there social media outlets and addresses, things like that?
So KylePeaseFoundation.org has got links to all the social media, ways to engage and sign up, ways to support, and of course, links to the book, which we actually drive most of the book sales to Amazon, just since that's the marketplace. So that's what everybody does these days. But yeah, the website is really kind of the one-stop shop. You can find everything there.
That's awesome. Brent, you make all other big brothers look small in comparison. And Kyle, I'm amazed by your endurance and your I don't even know how to put it, your hunger for life and being involved in this, not only just being involved, but then both of you guys going on and writing the book and starting the foundation and really just trying to get more and more people involved, in this kind of world we live in where we look at endurance sports. And when I was a kid growing up, you had to be like the skinny little, person in order to even think about running a marathon. And now it's like, it's been opened up. And the whole endurance sporting world is just opened up for people of all shapes and sizes. People who, I've been overweight in the past and never thought I could do a marathon. I've been doing an Ironman and you're you can't walk and you're out there doing it, man. Congratulations in this. I can't say enough about you guys. It's incredible what you do. And I really appreciate you guys taking time and spending it here and really kind of telling people what it's all about.
Absolutely, and we just appreciate your time and your willingness to share our journey and our story. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys. I'll be looking forward to following up and watching you guys run the streets of Boston. Hopefully, we can meet up, or I can at least shout your names as you guys run past. And best of luck out in Boston.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And with that, we're going to call it a wrap for today. That was Kyle and Brent Pease. And you can check them out at the Kyle Pease Foundation on social media, and definitely check out their new book. It's called Beyond the Finish: A Story of Passion, Brotherhood, and Relentless Determination. You can see all of those characteristics within these two gentlemen here. Thanks again for coming on the show. And remember, every day is an ordinary day unless you make it extraordinary. So get after it, guys.